Thank you for tuning in to the Healed Girl Era podcast with me, your host, T. I want to welcome you to a space where we encourage open and realistic conversations about the process of healing. This podcast aims to evoke a fresh perspective that opens the door to embracing growth and acceptance. I want you to feel safe enough to let go of the traumas of your past, embrace the newness of the day. Join us as we explore the journey of healing and self-discovery. If you've not done so, consider following me on social media at MsLadyT_ on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to my YouTube page. Now go ahead and listen to the newest episode of the Healed Girl Era podcast. Before we get started with today's show, I wanted to make you aware of two books that I have for purchase. The first one is the Manifestation Journal, Finding the Alchemist Within. This is a book that really breaks down and explains what manifestation is, and it gives multiple techniques on how to successfully manifest. There are affirmations and prompts to help you really improve your ability to successfully manifest the things that you want. I have used these techniques in my own life and have been able to absolutely manifest the things that I've wanted over the last 7 years. Everything that I've put on my vision board, for the most part, I have been able to take possession of, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And that's from things as simple as, just a certain job, getting a promotion or a raise on a job, a new home. I've even manifested my current relationship. So I believe in the law of manifestation and the law of attraction. And this book, I believe, can help you on your journey to receive the things that you want. And then I also have the Healed Girl Era Journal. It's a notebook. I believe that there is something magical about putting pen to paper. And journaling is a way of releasing your emotions, right? It's a way of releasing negativity. And also a de-stressor. It helps to de-stress, and it's a way of keeping a ledger of your life's experiences. And you're able to look back and see how far you've come if you kind of keep a chronological calendar, so to speak, of your life's journey. And it really does help in the healing process. So we have the Manifestation Journal, Finding the Alchemist Within, and the Healed Girl Era Journal. Those are both available on Amazon. I do encourage you to get your copy and to really help you and aid you on your process of healing. Welcome into the newest episode of the Healed Girl Era podcast. I am your host, T, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. Happy Monday. We made it to another beginning of the week. And we have nothing but expectations for the things ahead. And we wanted to start the show today. I wanted to kind of pick up and piggyback on a post that I made on TikTok a few days ago about mindfulness and how important it is to the process of healing and just your everyday journey. Being present and showing up for yourself and really knowing how to present yourself to people and yeah. So I wanted to kind of continue with that conversation today. And when I think about mindfulness, for me, one of the things that comes up immediately and comes up often for me is how I kind of struggled through and navigated through the cycles and had to recognize that my life was really made up of all of these cycles, right? And I recognized it quite a while ago. And that's where mindfulness comes in. In order to be, an active participant in your life, you have to show up and be present and really observe your life from the vantage point of kind of from the outside looking in, because sometimes you have the best view from that vantage point. But, I realized that every few years I was going through the same type of situation, maybe not identical to, but, my life was really made up of all these cycles. And, I would be, going about my life and then realize, oh, it's been, so many years, this is going to come up again in some way, and kind of expect that to happen. And I did that for a very long time. I would go through something, and then every 5 years something bad would happen, or, something devastating would happen. And instead of, preparing and, changing the path that I was going on, I just kept going down the same path, right? Kept walking in the same direction, but being affected so much by that cycle that it kind of threw me off. So I would have to start over every 5 years, you know what I'm saying? Every 3 years, every 2 years, right? And instead of, like I said, changing my path and taking a step back and, creating a new plan for myself, I just continued to walk in the same direction. And I was frustrated, and I was, anxious and upset every time this 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 7 year mark would come up, because I knew that I would have to start over, right? I knew that I would have to, go through something devastating, get through it, and, end up back at the same starting point. And I know that I'm not the only one, right? I know that there are so many people going through cycles, right? Like every couple years, you may deal with the same type of health challenge, right? It could be something as simple as, even just every October, I deal with hay fever, right? And I have, the itchy and runny eyes. I have issues with my respiratory system, things like that, right? But if I take the necessary steps throughout the previous months, that I could get to a place where in September, October, that I would not feel the major effects of these things. Not that they would not affect me, or not that they would not come up, right? Because things are going to come up regardless. Not that they would not come up, but they would not halt my life in such a way that I can't breathe, I'm rubbing my eyes, all of that. It could be something as simple as that, and then it could just be something major. Something major happens, a major death happens in the family every 5 years, right? Or every 7 years, or it seems like this one thing just keeps happening. You have to be mindful of what keeps coming up for you. And then also, take a step back and sit back and say, why are these things coming up for me? Why do they continue to come up? What is the issue? What's the purpose of it? I'm always of the frame of mind that anything that we're going through, that it's for purpose and for a reason, right? It's a reason that something keeps happening. Right? We're here for a set amount of years, an appointed time. And there's certain things that we need to learn and grow from, right? And I think that those cycles that continue to come up in our lives, we have to, sit down and say, how can I go through it? Because we're going to have to go through it, right? You have to go all the way through the thing to get to the other side, right? There's just a law that, a fundamental law. If you're in something, you have to come out on the other side. And the only way to come out is to go through it. So we're going through these things, but also I believe that cycles exist for us to learn, right? There's something that we need to learn. There's something that is hindering and blocking our lives in such a way that until we break through that glass ceiling, until we break through it, that we won't see what it looks like on the other side. So we have to learn from the cycles, and we have to grow from them, right? I believe that we all have to evolve, right? Some evolution is, you can't get around it. You're just, your life is going to evolve without your consent. But there's a consent and intention that can also be placed, where you're getting something from it, right? You're evolving and you're growing and you're getting to the place that you need to be to ultimately be the person that you were intended to be before the foundation of time, right? So what I want you to really do, if you have not done it and you're on the journey of healing and finding happiness in your life, is to think about just your life, right? From as early as you can remember to present day, right? For me, I can actually remember as far back to about 4 years old, maybe 2, but those memories are so very vague. I do have memories of being that young, but as far as back as I can actually, really formulate a true memory and circumstance, right, is about 4. So from 4 years old to my present age, I look at my life and what has come up for me throughout my life, right? And I just assess. I'm always assessing. And I write down, okay, so, I notice that every couple of years this happens, right? Or every few months this may come up for me, right? When I'm put in this situation, this is what comes to the surface for me, right? That's where mindfulness comes in again. So you have to recognize the cycles first, because it may not be as evident to you in the moments, right? When we're in something, it's very hard to see. But when you take a step back and you look from a different vantage point, your vision becomes much clearer. So you have to really be observant and be present, and to really identify the cycle first. And then what are the cycles, right? What are the things that just keep happening? When I was in a relationship, when I was married, it seemed like every couple of years we would go through some sort of turmoil, some sort of disruption in the household, some sort of issue, major or minor. And a lot of times it was, for me in those moments, they seemed major. Looking back at them, they were not. But it would be every 3 years or every 5 years, right? It would be, okay, we're doing really good, and then something happens. And it took a couple of those 5 years for me to actually identify it and recognize, like, oh wow, this is happening and I had to count back, okay, yeah, every about 5 years or so. So once I recognized it, then I was more mindful to keep the peace in my home. Okay, that time is coming up. Okay, where is there an enemy lurking in the background, right? Where is that bear behind the bush? To know that there's something that's going to come. But if you were observant, and if you're mindful, and if you're doing the work, that that thing that normally disrupts your house, it's not going to disrupt it, because you're looking out for the cues and for the the things that are going to pop up to cause that disruption. So I had to identify it first. I had to recognize it. And then even with career and jobs, like, every so many years, it's like, I'm moving on to another job. But it was a cycle, and I felt like after a while that I'm not finding the security that I need, because I'm kind of bopping around, right? So once I identified it, now I can, dig my heels into the dirt and let's change this scenario. Because ultimately, like I always say, we are the author of our story. We are the one writing the book, right? We can add to and change and erase, and, we can put our character on another path. And I'm the main character in my story. You are the main character in your story. So know that once you've identified a cycle, you've identified a thing that continues to come up for you and disrupt your space, your home, your mindset, your attitude, your walk, the path, the direction that you're on. Now that you've recognized that thing, take control of it and you now change the scenario. We're not going to continue to go through this thing. We're going to recognize it. We're going to do what we need to do so that we can either remain on the path that we're on. And sometimes these things are coming up so that you can change your path, right? We don't have to continue to walk in the same direction to get to the expected destination, right? If you put a destination into Google right now, into Google Maps or whatever you use, be it Android or Apple, there's some sort of direction app or something that you can put a certain address into or a certain destination into, and it's going to give you multiple ways to get to that one destination. So if you have a desire to do something, right? You have a goal that you're trying to meet. Just be mindful and aware that there is not one way to get to that destination. And sometimes those cycles of life are coming up so that you can change your direction, right? You have been going south for so long. You're going to get to where you want to get to, but I want you to go east for a little bit. There's some blessings in the east. There's some lessons in the east that I want you to get that are going to help you to grow and evolve into the woman that you want to be. But if you continue to go south, that road is so bumpy, right? It's so many detours on that road that I don't want you to have to go down. So I don't want you to continue to go south. So I'm going to create a disruption so that you can change your direction, right? Don't always see the cycles of life as something negative, right? God, universe, source has a way of trying to get our attention. And if, sometimes that the way to get our attention is to detour us. But because we're stubborn and we're people of habit, right? We just want to keep going where we're going. I know this way, right? When you're driving to work and, there's construction on the freeway, you may not know another way around. So I'm going to just stay here, right? I've done that before. There was an accident on the freeway, and instead of trying to find another route, I'm comfortable with this route. I've never went any other direction. So I'm going to stay in this traffic, in this detour. Instead of detouring off, it's going to give you another route. But I'm comfortable here, right? I know my way here. I can drive this path almost with my eyes closed. But it's so many, detours and bumps along the way. So the cycles are coming up for purpose and for reason, right? So that's, again, if you're mindful and you're present in your life, you're able to identify the cycles. And then we need to grow from them, right? I realized that with all of the things that I was on that roller coaster or that hamster wheel, that what this comes up for me and I find myself doing this, right? But how can I no longer do that? I have to put myself in a place to evolve, right? I don't want to continue to be the person that is going in the wrong direction happily. Right? I don't want to be the type of person that instead of gaining knowledge and wisdom and insight and understanding and learning the lesson that I need to learn, I'm going to be stubborn. And I'm going to just keep doing it my way. I've done that also, especially when it comes to the things of God. I used to be so extremely rebellious. Right. And I would hear, God, universe, source say, I want you to do this, or give me specific instructions on something. And because I wasn't comfortable with it, because it wasn't in my wheelhouse of comfort, right? Because it was something outside of the zone that I would normally do, and I felt incapable, or I felt inadequate, I just continued to do the same thing, extremely rebellious. But now when I hear that still small voice, right? Even if it's something simple, I listen and I obey quickly. I remember being at work the other day, and I was walking to go into the building, and I just heard God say, go around that car, right? And I'm like, I'm going to still get to the building if I go around the car or not. But immediately just decided, okay, I'm going to go around the car. And God, in his infinite wisdom and his sense of humor that he has, showed me what the outcome would have been if I went in the other direction. And I just had to say, God, thank you that I now have an obedient spirit instead of a rebellious one. Because he speaks so clearly, right? In times of especially of times of turmoil, he does speak, but we have to be still enough to listen. And then we have to be obedient enough to listen, right? But yeah, I just wanted to expound on and kind of continue to talk about, not in great detail, because like I said, I'm not a woman of very many words. And I don't think that in order to have a conversation, it has to last 7 hours to get your point across, right? I'm a more of a hit it and quit it type of girl. But I want you to really pay attention, right? Practice mindfulness when it comes to the cycles that you have experienced in your life. And once you identify the cycle and you recognize what it is and how often it happens, I want you to spring into action and just begin to find situations and opportunities from you to learn from those cycles. What is it that you're trying to get me to understand? Are you trying to get me to go in another direction? Are you trying to get me to come up in my level of thinking? What is it? What is the purpose of these things? How can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? How can I evolve from it? And ultimately get to the other side. That's the main goal. So try to do that for yourself. I want you to hold space for yourself the same way you hold space for others, right? I want you to be physically, emotionally, and mentally present for yourself, and practice empathy and compassion. That's one of the things that is extremely important when it comes to holding space, right? We do it for others, but hold space for ourselves and be mindful of the cycles that we've experienced in our life, because I want us all, as much as I want myself to get to the other side, I want you to get to the other side as well. I want you to be happy, whole, and complete. That is my ultimate goal for myself, to be healthy, happy, whole, and complete. That's always my prayer for myself. And those are the affirmations that I speak over myself every day. I am healthy, whole, happy, and complete. And that's what I want to leave you with today. That is the affirmation. I am healthy, whole, happy, and complete. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Healed Girl Era podcast. I am your host, T, and we will talk soon.